A lot of people tell me they want to leave corporate and get into real estate. And my first question is always, why? Because the truth is, most people don't start by loving real estate. They start by wanting something different. They want more control over their schedule, more income potential, more flexibility. Maybe they've simply burned out. Maybe they feel stuck. Maybe they've hit a ceiling in the corporate world and can't quite see a path forward anymore. And honestly, I understand that. But before you leave a stable career for real estate, I think you owe it to yourself to understand what this business actually is and what it is not. The real truth. Because real estate is not an escape from responsibility. It's a totally different kind of responsibility. And over the years, I've seen this transition from every angle possible. Through the agents we've interviewed on this podcast, through the thousands of agents I've brokered, and through my own experience of building a business in this industry. Some people make this transition and absolutely thrive. Others struggle far more than they ever expected. And usually, the difference comes down to a few things people don't fully think through before they make the leap. So in this video, I want to talk you through the realities of this transition, financially, emotionally, professionally, and personally, so you can make a grounded decision instead of an emotional one. And I want to start with the reason most people begin considering real estate in the first place. One of the first things I always try to understand is this: are you moving toward something, or are you simply trying to escape where you are? Because those are two very different motivations. I talked to a lot of people who almost fell into real estate after a layoff or a major life change. Suddenly they have time. Maybe they're receiving an unemployment or severance check, and they think, maybe now is the perfect time to get my license. And for some people, it does work out absolutely beautifully. Severance can be just the cushion they need, but for others, it doesn't work at all. And the reason is usually not lack of intelligence or capability. It's because they approached real estate like a backup plan instead of a business they genuinely wanted to build. This industry rewards commitment. It rewards consistency. It rewards people who are willing to keep showing up long before the results become predictable. And honestly, there's another reason I see people, especially women, seriously consider this transition. A lot of women coming out of corporate environments feel like they've hit a ceiling. A glass ceiling. Not in every company, of course, but enough that it's still a very real conversation. These are highly capable women who work incredibly hard, produce results, and still feel overlooked for leadership opportunities, underpaid compared to their male peers, or limited by systems that they don't fully control. And one of the reasons real estate becomes so attractive is because there really isn't a ceiling here. Your growth is tied to your effort, your leadership, your consistency, and your relationships. I've watched women leave traditional corporate environments and become top producing agents, team leaders, brokerage owners, investors, and entrepreneurs. That transformation is one of my favorite things to watch in this industry. But with that opportunity comes something many people underestimate: uncertainty. And that brings us to the income conversation, which is usually the biggest fear people have when they're considering this transition. Because unlike corporate, there is no built-in paycheck here. And I think this is the part people intellectually understand, but emotionally underestimate. You can work extremely hard in real estate and still not get paid immediately. Income can be delayed. Closings can fall apart. Cash flow can be inconsistent in the beginning. And if you're coming from a salaried environment, that adjustment can just feel very uncomfortable at first. It's why I usually encourage people to think about this transition strategically instead of impulsively. A lot of agents start in a dual career phase. They'll keep their job while beginning real estate nights and weekends. Others use severance packages or savings as their financial runway while they build momentum. Personally, I like to have around 6 months of financial runway if possible, because what most people forget is that you're not just changing careers, you're starting a business. There are licensing costs, education requirements, marketing expenses, startup costs. And depending on your state, licensing itself can take time. Texas, for example, has one of the most demanding licensing processes, and people often forget that several months can pass before you're even eligible to begin working with clients or earning income. But interestingly enough, money usually isn't the hardest adjustment people make. The harder adjustment is structure. And this is where a lot of corporate professionals get surprised. In a corporate environment, your day is largely structured for you. You have meetings, deadlines, managers, expectations, accountability. There's already a framework in place. In real estate, you create the structure. And freedom sounds amazing until nobody is managing your time anymore. I always joke that my boss is a real bitch, and people laugh because they realize I'm the boss. But there is truth in the joke. When you work for yourself, nobody is standing over you, telling you what needs to happen today. You become your own boss. The marketing department, the sales department, the operations department, and the accountability department all at once. And some people absolutely love that. Others realize very quickly that they miss structure more than they expected, because motivation alone is not enough in this business. You need discipline. And sure, I can pair a new licensee with one of our amazing mentors who will provide some of that accountability. But ultimately, it's up to you. You need the ability to wake up and show up consistently, even when no one is checking on you, even when results are slow, even when the excitement wears off, even when the weather is nice and you're tempted to go play golf or spend the day in the pool. And that leads directly into another major misconception people have about this industry. A lot of people think success in real estate comes down to personality or talent. It really doesn't. This business rewards consistency far more than talent. The agents who succeed are usually the ones willing to continue showing up long before the payoff becomes visible. Now, naturally, once people realize that, the next question becomes, okay, but where does the business actually come from? And that's an important conversation, because this business runs on relationships. Sure, there are paid lead sources, and just as that sounds, it costs money. If someone tells me they want to get into real estate, but they have no idea how they'll meet clients, build relationships, or generate conversations, that tells me they may not fully understand the business yet. My own first client many years ago was, and is, actually a really close friend of mine. She knew I was getting my license before I'd even finished the process, and she waited for me to become licensed so I could help her buy a home. That relationship became my very first transaction. And honestly, that's how many real estate careers begin. Not with fancy branding, not with expensive marketing, not with a perfect website. It starts with trust. It starts with relationships. It starts with people who already know you. And over time, consistency builds momentum. Now, beyond the business side of this transaction, there's also a personal side people don't talk about enough. And that's the identity shift, especially if you've already been successful in another career. You go from being experienced and established to being brand new again, and that can feel uncomfortable for high achievers. But here's the important part. Being new to real estate doesn't mean you're starting from zero. A lot of your previous skills transfer beautifully into this industry. Teachers often make incredible agents because they know how to guide people through emotional decisions and communicate clearly. They're great hand-holders for new buyers. People from marketing backgrounds understand positioning and messaging. They make great listing agents and are great at marketing their own skills. Corporate professionals often bring organization, systems, professionalism, communication skills, client management experience. So yes, you may be new to real estate, but you're not new to professionalism, work ethic, communication, leadership, or problem solving. And those skills matter a lot more than people realize. Now, with all that said, I also think it's important to have a really honest conversation about who may struggle in this business, because real estate is not the right fit for everyone. And I say that with respect, not judgment. If you need predictability above everything else, this business may feel emotionally difficult. If you're comfortable reaching out to people, following up, building relationships, and hearing no, this business will challenge you quickly. If your motivation is based purely on flexibility, social media, glamour, or the idea that real estate looks really easy on TV, you may be disappointed. It's definitely not all glitz and glam. And I've seen this happen more times than I can count. I remember one agent in particular who came out of a corporate career after a layoff. Smart, professional, a great communicator. Everyone around her thought she would do incredibly well. She got licensed, announced her career change publicly, started attending networking events, ordered business cards, and for a while, things looked really promising. But underneath it all, she had never fully shifted mentally from trying real estate to truly building a business. Financial pressure kind of started building because she hadn't created enough runway. Without corporate structure, her consistency became inconsistent. Some days she worked really hard. Other days felt more like freedom than discipline. And the difficult part is she actually had that momentum starting. People were noticing her. Conversations were happening. Opportunities were beginning to build. But because the results weren't immediate and because the emotional and financial pressure kept growing, she panicked and went back to the corporate world. And honestly, I believe she quit about 6 months before things truly would have started working. And that's one of the hardest truths about this business. Sometimes people don't fail because they aren't capable. They fail because they underestimate the runway, the discipline, the emotional endurance required to stay in the game long enough to succeed. So, if you're seriously considering this transition, I want to leave you with a framework that can help you evaluate this decision honestly, not emotionally, honestly. The first question is, why? Why are you making this move? Are you running toward something meaningful or simply trying to escape discomfort? Second, can you emotionally and financially handle uncertainty for a period of time? What's your runway in months? Third, are you willing to build relationships consistently before results appear? Fourth, can you manage yourself without someone creating structure for you? Can you be your own boss? And finally, are you willing to become a beginner again long enough to build something meaningful? Because if the answer to those questions is yes, real estate can absolutely change your life. But this business rewards people who are willing to treat it like a real business from the very beginning. Not a backup plan, not a temporary escape, not a fantasy, definitely not a hobby, a business. And the good news is, you do not have to make this decision overnight. Talk to agents, learn your state's licensing requirements, study the daily reality of this job, test the behaviors before you commit to the identity. And if you're someone who's genuinely considering the transition from corporate into real estate, and you want some advice, guidance, or simply an honest conversation about whether this path makes sense for you, feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm always happy to help people make informed decisions about this industry. And if this video gave you clarity, or if you know someone wrestling with this decision, share this with them. Because sometimes the best career decisions start with an honest conversation. This episode has been sponsored by HomeSmart Stars. Agents, do you feel unseen, unheard? Maybe wish you had better commission? Maybe wish that you were welcomed and encouraged to just show up as you are and be your true authentic self and have all the training and support and tools to help you thrive in your real estate career? If so, then you need to reach out to HomeSmart Stars and make HomeSmart Stars your home for real estate.